Hello and welcome to the European Parliament here in Brussels. Today I'm wanting to discuss one of the most important issues that has taken place in the world, the Kashmir issue. Since 1948 there's been a UN declaration saying that the people of Kashmir should have the right to self-determination in a referendum. Yet here we are in 2014 and the people of Kashmir still do not have a right of self-determination. So today we'll be discussing this with three guests. Firstly, from the Kashmir Council, we have Ali Raza Syed. Welcome.
Thank you.
From the Asian World, the senior journalist, Hashmi. Welcome.
Thank you.
And from the West Midlands region, my home region, it's Mohammed Adris.
Yeah, Mohammed
Thank you.
Adris, yeah.
The West Midlands region, fantastic, diverse region, has the largest Kashmiri community outside of Kashmir. So, Ali, can you put in a nutshell what the problem that we have in the world with Kashmir is?
You know, the problem of Kashmir is not a problem of a territorial problem. It's the problem of 14 to 15 million Kashmiri people. And after the partition 1947, the people of Kashmir, they were normally by the United Nations resolution April 21st, 1948, it was given the right to choose their destiny. And it should be implemented, but it's 67, 70 years now and it's still not implemented. Now, in these days, we are talking about 2,000 forces in Crimea in Ukraine, but there are 750,000 forces in Kashmir. But if you compare, I mean, the Kashmir problem for last 67 years, the suffering of the people, they are going on. There are 100,000 killed, there are 10,000 disappeared, and there are mass graves in Kashmir. But the international community is not coming forward to implement the resolution of United Nations. And on the other hand, the Indian government, they are applying for the United Nations permanent seat. But until and unless they fulfill their obligation to the United Nations, I think they don't have right to go on that seat. Yeah. They have to, first of all, implement the resolution which they signed. Pakistan and India, both they signed the resolution that the people of Kashmir, they are the final decision maker to choose their destiny. Yes. And we are asking the international community to come forward and to implement these resolutions of Kashmir. And the suffering of the people of Kashmir should be ended.
Absolutely. You bear on the suffering. I'm on the Human Rights Committee here in the Parliament, and we've heard the most atrocious situations of women being raped in front of their fathers, the most unspeakable crimes against humanity taking place. And I just turned to Em here, a journalist. Yeah. We don't hear about these things in the media.
Yeah, that's something that I'm actually very concerned about as well, because as far as I know, there is absolutely no media allowed to go into that region to report on the ground. And the only way we find out what's going on is if people have escaped or from their relatives who don't live in that region. And even they are too scared to come on camera or come to the media and speak. They will speak to us off the record, but they're scared of retaliation, so they don't want to come forward. They don't want their names in the press or anything like that. Yeah. So it's a dire situation. Yeah. And there's a statistic even that more people have lost their lives in occupied Kashmir than in Gaza. But as you know, Gaza's got a massive profile, and whereas nobody speaks about Kashmir. And I think one of the issues is because India is on the Security Council, that issue always gets vetoed. So, I mean, it's a lose-lose situation for the people living in occupied Kashmir.
Do you think India in itself is the big elephant in the room? You know, because obviously India is a very powerful, it's a nuclear power. It's obviously an economic powerhouse, will probably one day be the largest economy in the world. It's almost people are afraid to upset, or that they are, you know, they don't want to offend, but they think, oh, if India is their friend and they want India to be their friend. But would you agree with me that if you're a really good friend with somebody, you actually say, hang on a second, I think you're wrong here. And the international community, the UK, the rest of the EU, even the United States, for some reason is not willing to say that, Andy.
They're not saying anything. The international community, there's no voice for Kashmiri people at all at the moment. I mean, obviously, the Kashmiri people never been heard in EU or within the Europe community. And now the voice is coming through. Now I hope this will go through with the higher level to Indian government and the American, obviously, they're supporting these issues.
Yeah.
We like them to know that the Kashmiri community are suffering. They've been actually neglected for a long time, and their voice never been heard. And so many people in Kashmir, they're dying, and they've been killed by worse than animal. And that issue should be tackled as sooner as they can, because this is a worse issue in Kashmir at the moment.
Yeah.
That they're killing people.
It's about money. Money is more powerful than the lives of innocent people, and obviously because India's becoming a superpower, the trade relations with the West are stronger, and so obviously everyone's take a blind eye to what's going on in Kashmir. But I know that when Bill Clinton, when he was in power and he actually went to India, he did say that before he went, we do want to speak to the government about this, but when he went there, because he went there for business, he was told that, you know, to tie these business relations and make them a lot stronger, then that issue shouldn't be brought up. And then, that's what it's about, really. It's about business. So people are just taking a blind eye, and the media aren't allowed in. In fact, very few people are allowed in, if any. So nobody really knows what's the real situation, which could probably be 1,000 times worse than what we're speaking about here.
But that was also the case with Bill Clinton, wasn't it? Barack Obama. In his first election, he identified Kashmir as one of the serious issues of the world. Yeah. But when he became president, he said it's for the Pakistani and the Indian government to sort out, which in effect
that's never really going to happen, because they've always had issues. So I mean, I know that both prime ministers, the Pakistani prime minister and the Indian prime minister, they went to New York. They had a meeting, and everyone thought promising, you know, something will become of this, and no one's heard anything. There was no substance to that meeting. It just seemed to be a handshake in front of the world, but nothing seems to have happened, and it's actually quite a sad situation.
They're not concerned or not actually thinking about the human rights in Kashmir,
and that's why I'm involved in this, really, because I cannot believe how
there are a lot of children been killed during even school hours, and my understanding was that even the few schools been sort of disappeared out of the earth, and they couldn't see them anymore. There's no more schools there, and if there's our religious places also been attacked, like mosque and such. And this is something which I reckon is out of order within that region.
But one thing that I need to stress, and everyone needs to stress, is not just a Muslim thing, because in that part of occupied Kashmir, there's Sikhs, there's Hindus, there's Christians, and they are also suffering. Because I spoke to a Sikh woman who lives there, and the Indian army raped her as well, and she was tortured. So it's not just a Muslim problem; it is just generally a human rights problem.
People who live in Kashmir, people who live in that territory, that borderline, they're all suffering, whether whatever religions or caste they are. Every one of them suffering.
But what can we do?
And you know, but I think the people of Kashmir, they have more expectation from the European Union, because this place where we are sitting now, they are based on human rights, and they are the principal. I mean, the foundation is human rights. And that's why we are expecting from the European Union and the United States and other powers to come forward, because the resolution of Kashmir is in the interest of the whole world and in the interest of India as well. Because if the region is pacified, and if the region, the peoples are given their rights, I think the India can become more prominent and more powerful in world. They can play a more active role in the world. They can have their place. But until and unless the Kashmir problem is not resolved, I think it's bad for whole region. And any time there can be a war. And we have seen before in 1965, 71, and Kargil issue. There are a lot of times there were conflict. And if the European Union, I think they have to play in the role, as they played in East Timor, they played in Kosovo, they played in South Sudan, So why not in Kashmir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if they can, the resolution of United Nations can be implemented in East Timor, South Sudan, Kosovo, why not in Kashmir?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So the people.
How are we going to raise this awareness? I mean, what I held here last year, I sponsored a Kashmir week here last week.
That was brilliant.
Which was, you know, which gave some focus, but there was a lot of people in the European Parliament saying, "Oh, I didn't know about that. I'd never heard of this issue before." They didn't even hear of Kashmir. And
well, I went to a session at the UK Parliament where they discussed occupied Kashmir for the first time in 64 years, and that was, I mean, the amount of people. There was more people who came to watch, general public, than there were MPs. But the fact that it was, it did get a bit of media coverage, and the fact that the UK government were talking about it in Parliament was a massive, massive step forward. But I do remember quite blatantly that one of the MPs actually stood up and said, "Well, before I say my piece, I'd like to say that I've just received a text message from a journalist in India to say that UK needs to stay out of this and on no uncertain terms." And they found that quite yeah. So I think there's a bit of a fear factor here. So if the UK get involved or the European Union get involved, they're fearing that they might have a lot to lose, because obviously there's a lot of trade relations with India. So there's a lot of fear and a lot of economic.
Well, I can tell you, during that week we had calls from the Indian embassy.
I think India
and they wanted to know who was I in contact with, who was giving me information. They wanted all this information from my office. So obviously it struck a nerve with them. It made them vulnerable.
They are also scared, but they know that they've got people on their side, most powerful people. And unfortunately, all the Kashmiris can do is go and lobby their MPs. And I have to say, every single MP that turned up said, "Look, because I have the largest Kashmiri community, I have the largest Kashmiri community," and every single one of them said, "This is a massive issue, but we're not doing anything about it."
But the West Midlands as a region, without doubt, is the largest Kashmiri community outside of Kashmir itself.
Anywhere in the world,
So, Mohammed, your
local community.
How important it is that we can get the people of the West Midlands involved in this to raise awareness.
People of West Midlands, as you've seen last year, we brought a group here, and they are concerned, very much concerned, to resolve the issue or let EU to hear their issues, and let's see what the EU going to do about it. And obviously, this is a place where can be resolved these issues. But Kashmiri community in West Midland, they are not pleased at the moment. I mean, they're hearing a lot of things which coming back from homeland, and what's happening.
It would be useful to have a Kashmiri MEP here.
That's probably the reason I've been put forward to bring their voice into EU and let EU hear what's going on in Kashmir. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of MEP here from other countries. They never heard of Kashmir.
Exactly.
And the Kashmir is one of the issues been taken up for 1947. And
I mean, it's something that obviously that we have in common. I believe in self-determination for the British people to have a referendum. And obviously, as you said, the referendum outstands 47-48.
Yes, it's nearly
67
years, and obviously
it seems like nothing's ever going to happen, to be perfectly honest. And people have just lost the will to even try.
But that's what I'm saying. We need to re-engage people, and I think to have a Kashmiri MEP.
We need to get the media involved, and unfortunately, the media are not interested. That is the big issue. I mean, there's people like myself who can raise the awareness as much as I like, but we need international media to get on this, like they're on Gaza.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I think we might get somewhere. It's the pressure that will help to motivate the Indian government to actually do something about this.
But what we're actually seeking to do in the West Midlands is try to get the first Kashmiri MEP, because Andy, you're delighted to say that you're going to be number 2 on the list in the West Midlands.
Yes, I am number 2.
And therefore you're the most likely MEP from the UK, at least, to a Kashmiri MEP, because we just need 20%.
To present them into EU so they can hear their voice.
If we get 20% in the West Midlands, there will be a Kashmiri MEP here raising this awareness.
So obviously they need someone to raise, from the Kashmiri community to bring the voice into Europe, and that's where I come in to do that for them. And obviously they want everything to be resolved before other people gonna get killed and vanish from the space of Earth, which I think this biggest issue should be the biggest issue in Europe.
Great. Okay, well, time's defeated us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming and putting the case, and let's hopefully we can raise that awareness.
Yep, we hope
Okay,
we'll do
thank you
that.
very much.
Brilliant, yeah. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah.